All right, it's the top of the hour. It is now 7 p.m. if you are in East Africa. It is now 11 a.m. if you are in Texas. My name is Ethan Brisby. I am one of the hosts here. I am with
Delilah Aisu here in Uganda, coming to you live from East Africa.
Yeah, so Delilah, today last week was fun. We talked about comparative advantages, but today we're switching it up and taking it to the next level. We're not only doing what you're good at, but now we're going into understanding how to leverage your mastermind alliance. So it should be fun. We've been having some discussion around the topic, and I think we're both ready.
Definitely. Always ready.
Yeah,
Always
for sure. So before we dive deep into it, I like to start things out with a thought of the day, just something to get our minds ready for the dialogue. And so we're live right now on our YouTube channel. So this is the tell a friend. Before we even I'm going to do a thought of the day. Share the link to our YouTube live channel with a friend. This is the Shifting the Positive Academy YouTube channel. And our thought of the day is this: while you're sharing and telling somebody that they can come and hear about a mastermind alliance, the thought of the day is this: believing is a much higher level of being than thinking. The thought of the day is this: believing is on a much higher level of being than thinking. And so to me, Delilah, that's like saying, we think a lot of things. Everybody has a lot of thoughts. They think what they want to do, but your actions, you can really tell what a person believes by how they actually act. It's not tied to the way you think. So that's the thought of the day. Believing is a much higher level of being than just thinking.
Indeed, but also when you think of belief, it comes from the forces just around you, and your mind, the desires of your heart. So if you do not have those, how then even do you move into action?
So like your surroundings, right? So you think and you have goals, but then your surroundings, maybe the Debbie Downers, as we call them, people that speak negatively on your ideas or your lack of resources. Yeah, I think for me, even at your lowest point, it's still about what you believe, right? I think that, and being low is relative, but I think even at your lowest point, no matter where you are, it's still about what you believe. I think back in the US, they say they can trap your body, but they can never take your mind. Your mind is the only thing on earth that you have complete control over.
Indeed, the only thing that actually helps you to push through. You watched about kids pushing through. Barack Obama, he pushed through. Are you pushing through? That's the first question you're going to ask yourself today.
I love it. I love it. She's referring to Jasmine Wright. Jasmine Wright went viral a few years back for her push through videos. So after the show, if you want to go to YouTube and search Jasmine Wright or put in "I'm gonna push through," it's a very unique video. So that's our thought of the day. Why don't you help us transition, Delilah, into the first topic as it relates to mastermind alliances? I'm looking forward to diving into the conversation.
Let's start with the creation and what it actually means to have these powerful tools put together. When you speak in mastery, what is it that you're creating as a person, and what minds are you surrounding yourself with to be able to expand your idea, bring it to life? Moving away from just thinking it and presenting it to the world and saying, I am here now, and these are the people I'm working with to make this a reality.
I like the way you set that up. It made me think about, on a pitch deck, a lot of the people that listen to our show, whether it be live or at the replay, are founders. The people in our community are founders. And so that slide on your pitch deck when you're presenting your idea that says team, right? That's one slide in some instances can make or break the deal. Who are the people you've chosen to go public with as your team? And so if I could back up just 1 second to give background on when I was first introduced to the idea of a mastermind. I was in this business right out of college, and we had to go to training all the time. And they were teaching us. I was introduced to Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, which has sold hundreds, I think I want to say over 100 million copies worldwide. Think and Grow Rich. And so he designed this modern idea of success. He had like 17 principles that these are the principles of success. And so the number one principle is having a definite purpose.
Definitely.
Right? You got to know where you're going, or you're never going to get there.
I mean, if you're not sure where you're going, how you're going to go anyway. So where are you going?
So if number one is knowing where you're going, the number two success principle, according to Napoleon Hill, who's this, again, world-renowned author for generations, the number two success principle is forming a mastermind alliance. Who I know where I'm going, who's going to go with me. And I think in business and in life, it's so important to have that.
Hold up, Ethan. Are you aware that there are people who are actually existent and they do not know where they're going?
That's a heavy one, Delilah. you want to get heavy, you know what, it makes sense to almost back up and say, hey, do we know where we're going before we start talking about who's going with us? Because that's important. The Bible tells us, my people perish for lack of vision. Mm-hmm. So we have to have a vision that says, this is my guiding star. So definitely start there before you try to form some alliance, because if you're unsure, you're only going to hurt someone.
All right. We're going to do something right now. We're just trying to go and rob a bank. If it's your bank, just press yourself, have your security up and tight, because we're coming. So then you're going to be the mastermind of this, and you're going to take us on this journey. Don't worry, I'm going to be on your side the whole way. I'll have the ammunition right here. I didn't know this was coming.
Okay, I'm ready to play along. Help me out. Is that the plan?
We're creating it right now, and we're making sure we execute to the dot.
All right, so look, sometimes somebody might present you a proposition, you like, I'm out. So I'm out on that one. But it's crazy, Delilah, because you talked about the idea of some people not knowing where they're going, and then you just mentioned a proposition that, quite frankly, I would have to say, nah, I'm good. It's the same way with having a definite purpose.
Indeed.
If you plant a seed of corn and you water it, it will render you corn to nourish your body. If you plant a seed of poison and you water it, it will render you a poisonous plant that could kill you. The same way, when you start thinking about who's on my team, who will I build with, you need people that, people you like and people you can trust. I think that's very important when you talk about building a mastermind alliance.
Mm-hmm. Just driving us back to real life, the people we actually see, the people we watch on TV, the people we read about, those icons, the people we admire. Some people would actually call them role models, idols. When you look around our environment, who are those people you actually look at and say, well, this is an awesome mastermind. I think this is a great collaboration. And without this one party, or without this one body or organization being part of this, maybe, we'll never know, because they're together now and they're truly strong. Who are these people you look at right now that you could just, on top of your head, top of your tips, and say, this one and this one, I think are really amazing, and they're still doing great things to date?
Two come to mind. The first is, and they call these guys the PayPal Mafia. So everyone knows about PayPal. But when you look at the people that started PayPal, those people have gone on to start so many other tech-based businesses. Elon Musk is in that group, Peter Thiel, some titans of current venture capital, but they first formed a mastermind alliance to give us PayPal. So the PayPal Mafia comes to example, and I would advise folks to go read about the so-called PayPal Mafia, because that is an incredible example of a mastermind alliance. Another one in entertainment is, I would say, Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Your favorite, right?
Well, I think because look, Jay-Z's a billionaire, and it's not to say he wouldn't have become a billionaire if he didn't marry Beyonce. Beyonce is one of the biggest stars of our generation. That's not to say she would not have achieved that had she not formed this alliance with the man we know, Sean Carter, Jay-Z. But that's a great example of two people who both were artists, but they're also human, so they're married. And I'm surely believe that the way they leverage their relationship with each other, it absolutely helps them. And that's, I think that's point two of when we think about our mastermind alliances, building your team and what that looks like. And I know Jay-Z said, first of all, Beyonce is beautiful, but I guarantee you, he said, you know what? She's a mega star. It's only going to make my star even better. So who are those people, especially from our founders, who are those people who are leveraging their comparative advantage? Just like we talked about last week. If you're good at finance and I'm good at accounting, how can we come together? And that's really where collaboration starts and can help you double your results.
Yeah, of course. And just to bring you back, for one person who is thinking, I didn't go to college or I didn't get a university degree, all these things may not actually be your stepping stone. Even without these, you can create a mastermind alliance. Even if you are not aware of the house of a particular field, you can source people who have this knowledge, experts in this field. And these are the people who are going to help you soar higher. You'll not even understand how you got there, but because you have the vision, you know exactly the direction you're taking. So it's really important to understand who your team players are. And once you identify this body, this person, do not let them go. Make this approach real fast, because we're not confirming that you have tomorrow, but today is present. So take this action now. But also remember to think very accurately about your next steps, because these are things that are really, really, really important and vital in your journey. Yes.
I love it. I love it. And by the way, folks, you're listening to Ethan and Delilah. This is a Shift podcast. We're live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. East African time and 11 a.m. if you're in Texas. And today's topic is about masterminding and what a mastermind alliance is and what it looks like. And so I'm of the Christian faith, and many people say the first mastermind alliance ever formed was between Jesus Christ and his disciples. That helps us understand what a mastermind alliance is. It's people with a common idea that they go out and they essentially evangelize on what they believe. Maybe you believe that this solution is good for eradicating poverty. Maybe you believe that this solution will help people make electronic financial transactions, or you believe this solution is good for helping entrepreneurs get from where they are to where they want to be. So if we think about what Jesus and his disciples did with the gospel, that was a mastermind. And it still lives today. And so that's the kind of impact you can have when two or more people get together, agree on a thing, and walk hand in hand.
And indeed, it's not just about networking. It's also about wisdom sharing. What's your knowledge base? How much Conan can you possibly share with me that I can utilize to make myself better, and then bring this idea?
Yeah, it goes far deeper than just networking. You know, networking is a lot of times it's just for show. Like, hey, how are you? Here's my card. Here's what I'm doing. Oh, you're so awesome. Hey, let's get together for tea or coffee. And it never happens, right? Networking when you form a mastermind, you got to be able to deal with I like to say, you got to be able to deal with the cons, right? If you're working with a partner, but they obviously 80% of them is everything you would want, you also got to deal with the 20.
Let's look at some of the practical tips that we can leverage to find our best in terms of creating this mastermind alliance, because the goal is to succeed. So what are some of the things we should look out for when we're creating these alliances? Yes.
You know, Delilah, in my experience, the number one thing with any type of relationship, personal, business, whatever it is you have to be willing and able to be vulnerable. What does that mean? Am I free enough in myself to make a mistake in front of this person that's my partner? Can I be honest? Can I trust that they understand me, right? To share my vision with them. So the first aspect, if you're someone that's a founder, or you're already, maybe you're a business that's doing sales and business development, trying to get partnerships at every level, from the beginner to the mastery level, from my experience, is that vulnerability. You have to be able to be vulnerable, and you have to give people space to be themselves, because I don't think it's that hard to come together and make money. It's not that hard. Everyone can do their expertise. If you're good at building websites, if you're good at marketing campaigns, you can do that.
Yeah.
But can we deal with each other and who you are? So vulnerability and just always building is definitely a number one aspect of what it looks like.
Yes, and also think about it. I think it's also very important to have tools for accountability, because it's one thing to say we're going to do something together, and it's another for us to actually execute it in our different capacities and be able to bear fruit, So I think while creating these alliances, it's really important to put in these structures. Structures like accountability structures. How are you reporting to each other? How do you make your partner in the know of what is, what will be, and what the future looks like? I think these are very important tools that you need to embed, even in the first session, the time you're beginning to form this partnership. You should be able to have these things laid out.
I agree with you. As I hear my people in the background, we're getting our roads fixed here in the area that we're in. So if you hear men at work, they form their mastermind and they're fixing roads. But I would absolutely say, Delilah, when you're working with someone else and you're forming a team, get it in writing. I think that's what you're saying. You want it to be explicitly stated, the role that the other team or persons will play. Get it in writing, right? Because that helps. Because again, after the ability to be vulnerable, then I believe comes, how well do we communicate? Right? Are we able to communicate? It's something as simple as somebody might prefer a phone call, whereas the other person may want it to be in an email. So when you're working with somebody else, these are other areas and we're talking like ABC basic stuff, right? That you have to be able to utilize, because some of our audience and some of our founders, many of them are at like the seed level or just past idea stage. And so they're doing, the basic buildups for getting ready to form a mastermind.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So I would say that's the second point. Again, I'm Ethan.
I am Delilah.
This is our Shift podcast, and it's about 15 or 18 minutes past the hour. This is a power session, y'all. We're here for 30 minutes, so we'll be here about another 10 minutes discussing some ideals around masterminding. And so we want you to stay here with us. We also want you to share the link. We also want you to subscribe to our channel. We have some amazing things coming up with Shift, Delilah. We are building an innovation village. We are developing a learning management system.
I think that's my favorite, because the world gets to learn 24 hours each day for 365 days a year.
Absolutely.
And what are you learning? The Shift approach.
Absolutely. Save your money. Help your family. Imagine your goals, follow directions, and think accurately. So you're absolutely right. So we're really excited about these things. And we also have rolled out a new feature with Shift, which is that we offer consulting, B2B consulting. So if you are a founder or you have a business that you are looking to develop a strategic plan for the next phase of growth, or maybe you're someone that wants to double down on your marketing, you need some content developed, or you want to have a marketing strategy that's going to convert into sales, or maybe you are needing to grow your team and you want to go into some area of team building. We have personnel in place that can help with each of those areas. So we offer consulting services. You can visit our website,
www.shiftenterpriseacademy.com.
Scroll down to services, and then you can send us an email and we can start that dialogue. So just want to make sure you guys know that we do our best to give value in many different ways. So, but yeah, this is a good conversation so far about masterminding. So
I'm motivated.
She said she's motivated. That's good. That's good.
All right, Ethan. So here we are. We should be wrapping up in the next 10 minutes, but feel free to shoot up your questions so that we can be able to talk to you here live?
Yeah, let me go to our YouTube channel to see where we may have, if there's anyone interested in joining the conversation. But while I do that, Delilah, another part that I think is very important, masterminding, it's kind of ironic that we did this one after understanding your comparative advantage in the marketplace. Because masterminding is essentially doubling up on two comparative advantages. If you understand yourself to be a great writer, right? And you understand your colleague to be great at sales, so you're leveraging each person's strength to form the mastermind, right? So I think it's very fitting that last week that's where we were, and this week we are building on building upon that momentum. Yeah, and so I think, again, another thing I would add as it relates to forming and understanding the power of a mastermind is it's one thing to know where you're going, and we just talked about having things in writing. When you're forming these partnerships, have that brainstorming session. Give yourself time to create, because you're literally combining two things, and you may not know what your true strengths are together. So give yourself time to create what you want to see in the world. But I do believe partnering is a great way to scale.
Indeed. And we've seen very great mergers already in very many industries. When you look at Facebook and how it began to wrap up its mind and say, you know what, we're going to take over and have Insta. And now they just want family. It's just Meta. You know, when you speak Meta, you know who you're mentioning. You're mentioning multiple tools in one box. And I think that's really amazing. Any of us can actually do that at one point in time.
Absolutely. I'm just looking at our chat, and now we got somebody chiming in that's doubling down on what we say, get it in writing. And that's so important, especially for people that are newer to business development, or, you know, where I'm from, a lot of times deals are done, you know, it's just sort of a handshake deal, or it's sort of, you just feel good about the other person. And so you don't think to go, when you're really getting stuff done, it's gotta be in writing. So if you're listening to us live right now, I do see the chat. We just went on to our chat. So feel free to drop us a question or a comment related to business, related to shift, related to forming mastermind alliances. Maybe you have a question about what that might look like for your business. So feel free to drop that in the chat as we continue our dialogue.
I see Miss Rose Thompson there, Jordan Junkie, yes, and Top Crown Media. It's good to have you here. Caroline, we see you, Sugar.
Absolutely. So with that being said, Dee, let's keep doubling down. I think one other thing I want to add. So if at the beginning of the dialogue, I was talking about the success principles. And the number one was the Mastermind Alliance. Number one was a definite purpose. Number two is the Mastermind Alliance. And so I think the third one, I know the third one. The third one is going the extra mile. And you have to be willing to go the extra mile. I think I went the extra mile yesterday. Going the extra mile is something that is so important, because when it's just you, you know, you don't have to worry about someone else's ideas or going against what you think, because it's just you. If you arguing with yourself, you got bigger problems.
You should worry. It doesn't matter if you're standalone or you're with a team. You should worry. The moment you stop worrying, just know there's a problem. Because
But again, though, the point being is going the extra mile. The extra mile is never crowded. If you feel like there's too much activity around you, there's too much going on, that maybe it's not resonating with what you want to be doing, you're not going the extra mile. Because if you're going the extra mile, you're going to look around, you're going to see very few people. If we put that into the biblical tense, the Bible tells us the road that leads to destruction is wide and it's full of people. The road that leads to life is narrow and only a few people will find it. So that's what we mean about going the extra mile.
Think about the 1% $1 million people. you know?
The 1%, right. The one
Yeah.
I was telling before we go there, I see Rose has the question says, you want to read that? What do we have?
Would you agree that when masterminding, you have to agree to disagree? Thank you so much, Miss Rose, for that question. That's Miss Rose from Mrs. Rose's Baby.
From Miss Rose's Babies,
Yeah.
right, who was featured this week on a local news station for the work that she's doing with young adults in Texas. Very, 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 very impressive what's happening with Miss Rose's Babies. And I like to call that Shift Youth. And to look at her question, I'll let you answer that first, Delilah, then I'll take it. And for anyone else in the audience, feel free to chime in if you have something you want to add to the dialogue. What do you say?
One thing for sure is that we have different ideas. And many times we find that we collide. But if an idea is great, we have to definitely agree to disagree. Why? Because we want to propel whatever it is that we're beginning to create now and take it far high up there so that we are able to see the fruits, right? Because there are times you just have to put down your cup and say, this person is right, right? All ideas are great, but one personal idea could actually be the one thing that you need to skyrocket.
I do hear you on that, and ideally you do find that situation where the two people are saying, you know, I agree or I disagree with you. But here's what I would say to that. My grandmother used to always tell me, in all you're getting, get an understanding. So if I'm in business, sometime agreeing to disagree won't work because we need to agree on where we're going. So if we're in business and one person says go left, the other one says go right, if you agree to disagree, you're closing the business because you're going your separate ways. So I think in having a mastermind alliance in business, you need to get an understanding. Why does my partner want to do it this way? And that's where we talk about going the extra mile in relationship building. So I believe that it's necessary to take time to understand the other person's perspective.
Of course, it's really important to understand both perspectives. But if you can actually merge those two ideas, that would even be greater, right? What do you think about that? Because if you weigh the pros and cons and look at where you're headed and decide, well, this may not just be the worst idea after all, you know, you could merge it.
I mean, I feel you with the feel-good story of wanting to make it all work, but I think that, and that's one reason why, even when we talk about official type of mastermind alliances, a board of directors. So typically you have an odd number of board members so that you never have a tie, right? So that's what agreeing to disagree looks like when you have a board, you vote. And when you talk about having equity in a business, typically there's someone that is the majority stakeholder. That person owns the majority of the company or they have voting rights. And so in business and with a mastermind, there has to be an understanding of who the lead dog is, because I don't know that you can have two kings, right? And so I think that's probably a good place to put a pause on it. We got about 2 more minutes before we get out of here, but feel free to follow up more if you would like to. Let's see, Carolyn says, I think that you should try both ways, and the way that's successful is the way you should choose to.
I agree with you, Caroline. I agree with you, girl. That's it. Try both ways and see which one fits, or even better, merge it.
Again, I feel that, and I think that's that feminine energy talking. We want everybody to feel loved, and that's great. We do want that in the world, but I think in business, somebody's got to be right, and so that's why one person is going to probably have more authority than the other whenever it comes down to just being uncertain about which way to go. Because remember, if you're in business together and you agree to disagree, that means you're going in 2 different directions. That's not a mastermind. That's 2 people doing their own thing.
You don't necessarily have to go 2 different directions. You know, those 2 ideas can actually channel into one path at some point.
Okay. I can see. Okay. So somewhere down the road, we come back. I understand. Somewhere down the road, we come back together. And we're almost out of time, but let's see. We got another question that came in. Let's take that one. It says, how do you distinguish which idea is best for what you're doing? How do you distinguish which idea is best for what you're doing? So, Delilah, when you think about shift or you think about programs and ideas you've been a part of, how do you think you go about distinguishing I guess, how do you exercise wisdom, or what's your decision-making process?
First, probably look at where I want to go, and look at the things I have as strength. So I begin with doing a SWOT analysis in there. So I'd look at what strength I have, what are my threats, who are my opponents, and then from there I'll figure out, you know what, this is where I'll probably go big, and that's the path I'll go with. But I think the first thing is your heart's desire, because that's the core. That's the one thing that will not let you down. Why? Because it's born in your heart. You desire it and you want to see it soar. So if it's embedded in there, it's a lot easier to journey with it. And all these other things are just additions. So one thing I'll say is go with your heart's desire.
You go with your heart. And so you gave us two ways to look at it. One being the technical aspect, doing a SWOT analysis with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then you mentioned going with your heart. For me, if I'm in business and I'm trying to figure out which way to go, that's actually a lesson that I've lived this year, is the idea of wisdom. And so sometimes when you first learn about this idea of wisdom, which talks about all through the book of Proverbs, and I'm going to wrap it up because we're a little over time here, but I want to get this thought out, is that we don't realize, to me, wisdom is just, applying the knowledge that you've gained or from the experiences that you've had. So if you're in business and basically all you're doing is you're just leveraging your experiences, what you've seen happen before.
And that's what we're looking at as strength, right? Those are your strengths, your experience, your expertise, your network, your reach, these are all things.
So then that means you have to be vulnerable as you understand what your weaknesses are. So you have to be self-aware when you're going into these deals, knowing what you're not good at, right?
And that's when you need that one person who's actually good at the things that you're weak at.
And that's the mastermind alliance.
There you have it.
So that's why I said it's all about having relationship building and being vulnerable when it's necessary. Okay, good. Okay, and sometimes we hear, and we're in overtime now. I said sometimes the king is not always right, but it's hard to distinguish, and that is very true. The king, no one can always be right, or even the majority owner of the entity cannot always be right. But so what we're gonna do is wrap up for the evening. We'll be back on next Wednesday as well. Delilah's looking up something for me right now. Perfect. So we'll be back next Wednesday. We'll do it again. So tell a friend to tell a friend. And what we need you to do is subscribe to our channel. And then we also need for you to like this video so that we can continue to get more, pop up on more people's feeds. Next week, we'll come back. I think Delilah knows what we're going to be talking about.
Definitely. Okay, I always know somehow. I know. I know. So next Wednesday, we'll be looking at achieving intergenerational mobility for you and your family with smart business modes. I'm not talking about your immediate family. I am talking about the person who you can possibly collaborate with, that client that you may actually be able to poach. That is your family, all right? So next week, we'll be looking at that, and I can't wait to see how much we can talk about.
Perfect. So next week is intergenerational mobility, but being able to, and the way I look at that is if you're born in poverty, but then you're able to elevate to a different socioeconomic class, that's mobility. So how do we leverage our business, our ideas, our strengths, our masterminds, our partners? How do we leverage not only our strength, but others to be able to achieve mobility? So it's been fun. We thank you guys so much for tuning in. I see comments are still coming in. And we will continue the dialogue. You can read our blog at, where's the blog at?
www.shiftenterpriseacademy.com/blog.
Perfect. And so we have a blog post each week about our topics. So last week's topic was dealing with the comparative advantage. You can find that on our blog now.
And if you want to feature in a blog sometime during this year, you can always write us via our email, shiftenterpriseacademy@gmail.com. We'll write that in the chat so you can be able to access it later.
Definitely. All right. So that's all we have. We went over time today because it's just fun being here. This is new. For those of you that don't know, I hosted radio for I think 4 years back in 2003, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think Delilah's got history with radio, right?
Oh yes, I think the first place I went to was the Uganda Broadcasting Corporation.
Yeah.
But while I was still at uni, it was amazing.
And
I'm here now.
Yeah, so this is fun. So we'll continue to go forward with what we have here because I think people will begin to catch on board and really enjoy the conversations. It's just about feeling good, looking good, playing good, and getting paid. So you guys have a great day. I pray that God is with you for the remainder of this week. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to our page, and also you can follow us across social media at shiftenterpriseacademy.com. We have some amazing things going on.
And on Twitter, you'll find Shift Ventures.
For sure. Perfect. Well, then let's get out of here. Thank you so much. Last thing I'll say is we have our Legacy for Tomorrow campaign. So go to our website, click on Legacy for Tomorrow, and you won't be disappointed. That's all I have for now, and I'm going to get out of here.
Bye.